What's going on, guys? Justin with Z1 Off-Road / Z1 Audio today. Today what we're going to be installing is our full HiFi package and our 2025 D41 Nissan Frontier with the Fender audio system. Included in this package is going to be the full speaker upgrade. We've opted to upgrade the rear speakers to the 6.5-inch components with crossovers. We have a 5-channel 1100 watt amplifier with the add a sub as well as an optional upgrade as well. Included with this is all the wiring to make it plug and play, the bracketry for all your amplifiers, hardware, and all you're gonna need to install this is a ratchet, an extension, some trim removal tools, a 14, a 10, and a 5mm socket for an Allen. And included, we'll have some Allens to wire up your amp as well. So let me show you how we install. Now, it is recommended that we unplug the battery. However, with these power seats, we gotta move this out of the way first. So, the power is still connected to the battery. Use a 14mm, and we just need to remove the factory bolts. Plastic trim removal tool is definitely helpful here. And these are all gonna come all the way out here. All right, I'm gonna slide the seat forward just so we get to the rear. So we remove the floor mats because those just get in the way. And your truck will have a plastic trim piece here that covers all this. Just make sure you pry that out of the way nice and easy. Make sure not to break any of the clips. All right, so now the seat is completely disconnected. We can go back under the hood, disconnect the battery. So we have a 10mm socket to remove the negative terminal. Just keep everything safe and plugged out of the way. So now that your battery terminal is disconnected, we're safe to move on to the next part and we'll start the wiring process. So now that we got the battery unplugged, there are 2 wiring connections for your power seat and your airbag in the seat itself. All you do is just simply unplug that. You'll have a yellow one and a white plug down here. And this white clip. So now that we have the factory harness removed from the seat, I'm going to simply just slide the seat out. And we'll set it to the side. So with the seat removed, obviously it's a lot easier to see. These are the 2 connections we just removed, this white one and the yellow one. We're going to remove the factory Fender amp from its bracket. This is a 10mm head on these. There's these 4 here. Factory amp. Disconnect this as well. One more. So now that your factory amp is disconnected, you got a few more brackets, or a few more bolts, 10mm bolts to remove the bracket from the actual truck itself. Perfect. Move this out of the way. Here's our loaded subwoofer box. You can have an integrated MOLLE panel. Also uses 10mm hardware. So you have 2 nutserts in there already. And this subwoofer goes in place of your factory storage container in your truck underneath your D41 or D40. There's that. And then we have 2 studs. Now these will locate, you have pins that will locate your subwoofer and keep it in place as well. Those go underneath. And then you just use a 5mm Allen to get them secured. All right, so now we have our loaded box, our loaded amp rack. Now all we got to do is wire. In the rear of the cab, we're going to remove our factory understorage seat storage. It's just these little quarter turn, half turn plastic guys. There's 3 quarter turns, and your factory plastic comes right out. Floor liner. And let's vacuum up again too. All right, so now that we have the rear under seat storage done, we're gonna remove the factory Fender subwoofer as well. You just use 10mm. There's 2 on the bottom. Okay, that's the hardware there. The factory bracket, and then the factory harness. There, factory bracket, factory subwoofer removed. Drop these grommets in there, and these are where it's going to locate those pegs to press fit that subwoofer into place. Subwoofer just goes into the same location that the factory underseat was in, and just gets press fitted in. Now we're nice and secure. All we gotta do is now run some wire. We've had the negative battery disconnected for a little while now. So we're gonna run our power cable from the positive terminal along the top of the firewall. We got some zip ties to help secure it. And then underneath where the brake master cylinder is, you'll see a firewall grommet that we'll poke our way through. So what you're gonna do, obviously make sure your power is disconnected here. Just to be safe, we're gonna break the breaker on our power line, just so we don't get any additional charge coming through. Supercharger is a great spot to put your harness as well. So this one here, we'll remove this factory cap, and we're going to tie into that terminal there. Now, we've had to cut the plastic shroud around our positive terminal here just to allow the wire to pass through. Make sure you get yourself enough slack. We can tuck it up down the road. We're not going to hook it all up yet until we get everything wired and installed. Like I said, we broke the breaker, so there's no accidental electrocution happening today. So back to the front seat. We just need to remove this plastic trim piece nice and easily. Try not to break your plastic clips here. That's that. We're going to move this weather stripping back a little bit too. There is this little plastic screw right under your dead pedal here. That just pops off this stud here to allow you to remove this kick panel. Slide all this out of the way. All right, so just removing the plastic trim pieces to where we can get to this one. All right, so with all the factory plastics removed with our plastic trim removal tool, we'll have enough space to pull up the carpet, run our wires, and get everything hooked up properly for that OEM Plus integration. There's this rubber grommet right here in the firewall. We're going to simply just poke that through. So now we'll shine in the light through it, so now you can see where it's actually at, poking through the firewall. All right. Included with your package, we're running this power harness through that grommet, or the hole that we just poked through the firewall in the grommet. Our harness comes with a new grommet, so this will simply replace that one that we just poked through the firewall. So we're just going to fish the power line through this hole in the firewall. You see it?
Yep.
So now we're just working the grommet into place. Now that we have our power cable pushed through the firewall, we've installed our grommet in the firewall itself that comes attached to your power cable. We're going to tuck this power line up along the side here to keep it out of your pedals. We'll probably use a little zip tie over here too. There's this factory plastic channel over here that you can pass this power cable through. Keep it all tucked into place. Fish that through here. It's going to come back up through the carpet. Now, while we have the carpet pulled away, as you can see, we have a factory ground switch. We're just going to simply loosen that guy off with a 10mm. We have our included ground switch, ground strap. It'll just bolt right through there, go into your existing ground on the factory chassis. All right, we're going to tighten that down. We're going to pass the ground up through here and tuck our carpet back down. Okay, bring these guys up. So now that we have our amp rack ready to go back into place, we're going to put our amp bracket back down. These two are going to go through here and up through here. Install the amp bracket back into place using the factory hardware. One here, and one's under here. And one under the amp itself. Okay. So, ground cable, power cable. We have our ground. We'll go into the ground terminal. Okay, loosen up the 12-volt power. Power will go in. Crank that down. Give them a little tug. Test the fitment. Got our little cable management. Push it in here, throwing it through, and then just pop them together. It comes with a screw. So a little 1.5 tightens that down to the bracket itself. Now we are going to run our wires to the subwoofer. So just like before, we'll loosen up these terminals. We're going to run our wires down and underneath again. So we have our black terminal into the negative, our red terminal into the positive. And give those a test tug, and they are secure. All right, run our cable. Underneath the carpet, along the frame of the door. All the slack out. Tuck it up nice and neat. Okay, and lift up our seat. And along our door channel, we'll pop our weather stripping back in place. All right, so now that we have the wire fished along the door trim, we're gonna run it up underneath the carpet again. You'll see a opening where that factory grommet is. We can actually pop that grommet up a little bit. Run this in place, fish this through. Okay, set that grommet back down, and this plug only goes in one way, right in the back of the sub. You can fish some of this down to clean it up. Make sure not to pinch any of the wires. And our sub is now wired. All right, so now that we have the power and ground harness run, we have our subwoofer line run, all we're gonna do is reinstall our factory plastics back in the same location they came out of before. Nice and simple. Pop those back in place there. This little trap door back in place. Okay, now the front trim. All right, and our interior trim's back on. First step in our door speaker upgrade kit is going to be to remove your door panel. So it's pretty simple. There is one plastic clip in your actual door handle, one plastic clip cover over there. You're going to break them free with a 10mm. One. Two. Keep everything down there. Take a trim removal tool. Just go around the bottom. There's just clips that you can pop out all the way around. Should just be able to lift up. Okay. Now with all your pop clips done, you're gonna remove your door handles. They just simply unclip out of there, and you can undo them there. And then there are two plugs for your window switches and mirrors and such. One, two. All right, door card is removed. We'll go ahead and show you the same exact process on the rear door because we're taking them all off anyway. We'll pop off this one here. We'll pop off this one here. Down in there. The 210s. So we got the 210s removed. Now that those are done, just a trim removal tool. Pop the little plastic plugs out. Simple, easy. Lift up on your door panel. Again, same thing. You just got to pop them out and lift them out of the bracket. There you go. And then one plug here. And our door panel is removed in the rear. So we're just going to remove all the door speakers. 10mm again. There's 4 in the front. And it just slides out. To the rear, we'll remove this plug from the speaker. We got 3 toss that in the trash. So I'm gonna remove the A-pillars so we can get to our tweeters. And just pop this piece out. Okay. And this one's gonna have a little tether and just a Phillips head screw. Get it up out of the way here. All right, I'm just gonna stick this screw back in place so we don't lose that guy. And slide these guys in the back seat. All right, to get at the tweeter, you just need to pop this cover up. 1, 2, 3, and it should pull right out. There's gonna be one connection here. Push the plastic pin in, and it undoes. Factory tweeter. So, let me take you over to the bench. Let me show you how to swap this guy out. Now that we got the speakers out of the truck, these are the factory, supposedly upgraded Fender audio ones. As you can see, driver's not very good, very thin, high quality driver. The rear speakers are even crazier. Look at that difference. I'm gonna show you how these tweeters go in here first. Get all this stuff out of the way. You have the Fender audio system. You're gonna have the mid-range, but Fenders have the tweeter as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap this tweeter in the grill. 2 Phillips head screws, nice and easy. You're gonna reuse those, so hold on to that. Now, when you receive your kit, you're gonna have a fully assembled tweeter. Now, since we are putting it in this protected grill here, we can remove the housing. So it just simply unscrews the grill. And the housing comes right out. Pull the wires. Okay, set that to the side. Now, what we have is we have a little piece of foam. It's gonna go around your tweeter itself. So there's gonna be a little foam sticky. Peel one off, stick it to the back of here. Okay, peel that off. We have our adhesive foam backer. It's gonna go right here in place. We have this little half circle. It's gonna point towards your connections. Just make sure we're not arcing our connections. We're gonna use the factory hardware. So this has a zip tie spot to where we run that through. Okay, we'll run that harness through there. And we'll just zip tie it to the bracket. Trim cut tool. All right, and that can sit right in here now. And we'll use the factory hardware to attach it back to itself. All right, so tweeter's back installed in the grill. All right, so we have these 3 8mm, and we're just gonna break free here. Get my fat fingers through here. All right. Again, we just need to unplug it. All right. Factory mid, gone. We have a cool crossover. It's got some nice double-sided tape on here. You're gonna peel that off. Now, if you look down in this hole, there's an air vent that runs to this air vent here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop this down into that hole. Make sure not to get it hung up on anything. All right, once your connectors are under that air vent, you just gotta stick it to it. Now, we have a pretty new truck. It's not dirty, it's not greasy, but if you got some mileage on yours and it struggles to stick down in there, you might just need to drop your lower dashboard here just to get your hand back up in there and be able to stick it in there. But ours was able to stick and it's hanging out right there. So, next step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this brown connector. If you have the Fender audio, this is where this is going to connect into. If you do not have Fender audio, you don't need to worry about this plug. The factory one will plug right into there. Okay, so now that's in place. Run our long tweeter wires down this way and then back across to get to our connections. Just fish that around. We're gonna pop these connections open. Black to black. Blue into this side. Give them a little tug, those are connected. All right. Last thing. With the speaker grill out of the way, we're gonna plug up our factory harness into this new brown one we just put in here. And you'll see there's an exact pin. It doesn't matter which one of these ones or this one it goes into. This is your old tweeter, no longer needed. So you can just tuck that one back into the dashboard. Here's your mid. You can tuck these down now too. So last connection for us here. We're gonna just take the black, hook it to the black of our mid. Stick it in there. Take the blue, blue to the mid. Stick it in there. Make sure we got a good connection. Tuck everything down. We have a little laser cut grill or retainer that'll go down in there. You can see there's a little stud right here, so there's no hole in this top right corner. And the rest of them just drop down into the factory location. Now that I got these finger tight, I can just go in there, cinch them down a little bit. Now on the passenger side, right here, there's going to be an ambient light sensor. Those are for like your automatic headlights and such. That just gets unplugged and plugged right back in. So it's pretty simple. Okay, so speakers retained. All my connections to my crossover are connected. My tweeter is connected. I'm just gonna tuck this wire back in there and pop this speaker grill back down under the dashboard. So, all we gotta do is pop our trim panel back in on the A-pillar. We are gonna reconnect our tether. All right, that is good. We're just gonna pop this guy back down into place. Make sure our airbag is tucked in there. Finishes the install of the tweeter in the dashboard on the driver's side. Passenger side is the exact same. The only thing to remove this is there's the grab handle, so there's going to be two 10mm bolts, and then there is an ambient light sensor on the passenger side that you just need to make sure you hook up as well. But now let me show you onto the doors. All right, so now that we got our dashboard put back together with our tweeter all wired up, we're now on the driver's side door speaker. Goes in just the same way it came out. So you just have to wrestle this magnet in there. It might be a little tight, but it goes right in there. Uses our existing hardware that came out of the old speakers. Started by hand first before we zip them in. We just need to wire up our crossover. Plugs only go in one way. Plug and play, nice and simple. And we just need to remove our adhesive. All we gotta do is stick the crossover. We're gonna stick it right here. It can really go anywhere that the lines run, as long as you're not outside of your door pocket, you should be just fine. So we're just gonna run that up here, stick it right in. Make sure those are all tucked up, ready to go. And your front door speaker is installed. So we'll simply just repeat that on the passenger side, and then we'll move back and do the rear doors. So now that we got our door speaker back installed, our crossover stuck to the door, we're gonna simply just put the door card back on. Goes on the exact same way it came off. So the top one, you just stick in this little groove here, and then it'll click over here. The lower Go into the ball. Stick it into your door handle. Click it back in there. You see? They can only go one way. Same thing with our plugs. They only go one way. And then we just gotta re-plug the connectors for the window switches. And, oh, this guy popped out. Make sure they're engaged. Make sure my door latch works still. So you're gonna hang this guy on the top. Set her in. And then you just gotta go around and smack all those plastic clips back in. And we're back installed. Now that we got our door panel plastic clips in, we just gotta stick these 10 mils back into spots. We got one down here. And this guy in here. Pop in our plastic clips again. Cover up these trim pieces. There's one. Two. So, driver's side door, done. So now that we got the front speakers installed, the one modification, if you are running the 6.5-inch component door speakers in the rear, is you will have to drill a hole for your tweeter. Now, we have a nice template that you'll use on both door sides, passenger and driver side, right? It fits right in there. Saw, go right through. However, if you flip it around, you have your window harness right here. This is where your tweeter is going to sit. So, simply unplug your harness so you don't accidentally drill through it. We'll move that out of the side, and then we can drill right through. We're just going to tape it off, just so we can draw a nice little mark on it with a Sharpie. And this also keeps our cut nice and clean when we go through the tape. All right, our template goes right over the tape mark. Simply take a Sharpie and draw a circle around the outer edge. Okay, we're going to find the center of the hole to mark our pilot. And then just go nice and slow. So right in the middle, keep your drills very vertical. So now we can remove the tape. And a nice little hole for our tweeter. There is some sound deadening material back here. You just want to make sure that your harness is out of the way. It's okay if you drill through and cut some of this sound deadening material. But to clean up our hole, we got a nice little deburr tool. Just go around this a couple times on that side. Deburr around this side too. Perfect. All right. Okay. So to install your tweeter, it comes already assembled in its little case. Simply drop it in. Orient your little audio control logo properly. We're going to flip it over. We have this nice little bracket that just goes right on the outside. And then we use this 2.5 millimeter Allen key to lock this in place. Keeping pressure on the speaker itself. And then just tighten the bracket down. Okay? Now's your chance to make sure your logo is centered and set proper. And your tweeter is installed. Now that your tweeter is installed, you just push the sound deadening out of the way and click your window switch back in. We're just going to show you how to install it in the vehicle. So now that we have our tweeter mounted into our door card, we're going to simply put our door speaker in. Now you want to make sure your connections are where they need to be. We're going to put this one on top. Simply uses the same existing hardware that the factory. So now we have our crossover. They only plug in one way. We have our connections from the door through our crossover into our speaker. And this is going to go to our tweeter that we just wired up. Again, we're going to simply just peel back our adhesive, and we're just going to stick it anywhere that the door card's not going to be. All right there. Give it a little firm press. There we go. We have our connections open, ready for our door panel. Now that we have our tweeter installed on our door card, we have our 6.5-inch component installed. We're going to stick this in here. Black's going to go to black. Blue goes to the yellow. Do a little test tug, and it's installed. Okay? Last thing, we're just going to hook up our door card to the power and to our door latch. Just like the driver's side door, they only go in one way, and it just clips right back into the door. This goes down and clips right back into the door. As you can see, we have all our connections up, out of the way. Make sure this stays tucked up under there. Okay. Simply stick the top down in the door. And you just go around and pop all your plastic trim pieces in. Little covers, and then they just go right back into the factory location. We had our 2 tins that came out from the door before. 1, 2, just pop in our plastic trim pieces again. 1, 2, and the driver's side door speakers are complete. All right, so we're just installing the door speaker into the factory location using the existing hardware that came from the old speakers. Just line it up. It goes right in the same spot. Now just snug up the bolts. Doesn't need to go too crazy tight. Then we're just going to wire up our crossover. Only going one way. I'm going to peel back the tape. Crossover can stick right here. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're just hooking up our door latches and lock again into the same location they came out of. Just make sure you put the cables in their little holders and then lock in the retainers. Hang your door latch. Top of the door in. Rotate it down. Just locking in the door panel. So then you just got to pop in your plastic trim once everything is connected. Passenger side done. Onto the back. Now we're on the rear door speaker again. We're going to hook up our door speaker, our 6.5, in the same location that the factory one in again. just gonna hook up our crossover. Okay, peel our double-sided tape back. Press it up against the door. This one's gonna go to our tweeter in the door card. So we'll pop those open right now. Now all we're gonna do is make all of our connections on the door. So now we just need to connect it to our door panel. There's one. There's two. Tweeter's hooked up. This goes back into here. We want to make sure our window switch is hooked back up from when we disconnected it when we drilled our hole. Make sure the wires tuck. We're going to connect our door latch again. Pop that in. There we go. You see all that. We're going to hang our door from the top. Tuck in this plastic trim. Make sure all of our wires are tucked. Okay. Now we just need to lock our door down. And last thing, we're going to clip in our trim pieces again. All right. So now we're going to finalize the wiring of the HiFi package. We have the larger 5-channel amp already. We're just going to disconnect this factory amplifier, since if you're not running the base package anymore, you no longer need. And we're going to run everything off the 5-channel now. Okay. Move this harness. That off to the side. All right, so now that we have that secondary bracket removed, we can push all that to the side. So now we have some extra space. We're going to put on the black plug. Then it clicks only into one spot here. Okay. And we're just going to go in the same order. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 of our channels. And we're just going to match up these wires with the corresponding wires over there. Make sure you verify your colors in your install guide. This is just a prototype harness, so yours might be a little different. So we have our positive going into the first channel and the negative going into the first channel. So this is gray going into level 2. Gray and black going into the negative. All right. This one should be black. So we have green going into the positive of number 3. This is green and black on this one. A little test tug, and then we have purple in number 4, and then purple and black going into the negative. Okay, so all of our connections are tight, screwed down. So we have our little cable tie that has a little press fitting in there. Goes in the hole. Run this guy down, zip that down. I'm just going to plug up these one-way connectors back into the factory harness. 1, 2, 3. So, harness is rewired, amplifiers wired. Final step of this install is put the seat back in. Now, we've already hooked everything up, powered it, adjusted some of our gains. Everything's gonna be a little different depending on the packages your truck comes with. Now, if you like a little more bass, a little more highs, a little better lows, you can make all your adjustments here. If you're someone that throws a lot of stuff underneath your seat, make sure you put that cover back on, but it doesn't need to necessarily go back on before you have the seat on. So once you got the interior back all together, final thing to do is just hook up the power supply here. I'm going to use this existing stud on the battery. Make sure I don't accidentally arc it on itself. All right. Now we give you a little bit extra wire here. Some batteries, the smart batteries, are moved back a little bit further. Some of the older ones, you got to run it a little bit further. We give you a piece of double-sided tape as well on the back of your, so you can just double-side tape it, or you can actually through bolt it if you choose to your fuse box. This just drops on here. Tighten that back up. There's that. All right, so I'm just gonna clean off the top of the fuse box cover. I'm gonna peel the double-sided tape that is provided, and we're just gonna slap it on here. Okay. Now, like I said, we had to trim our cover before so we could pass this power cable through, and that just sits right back down on top. Last and final thing before we hook up the battery completely, switch on the breaker, is we're just gonna tuck up our power cable to our factory harness using the supplied zip ties, and just to keep everything nice, neat, and tucked out of the way. All right, so our kit's gonna provide some zip ties for you. Simply just run them up here. These are reusable ones as well. Zip tie them up out of the way. Take yourself some flush cuts. Give yourself a nice clean snip. All right, now we'll just go along the firewall and do the same thing over here. Keep it away from the supercharger pulley. Should make it mandatory. Z1 audio, you need a supercharger. And I'm gonna do one more over here too. All right, and then we're gonna do one more final zip tie under the dashboard, just to make sure that power line does not interfere with your brake pedal. Work our seat back into place here. There is a stud that it sits right back into. Now that we have our seat back in place, we just need to hook up our power seats and our adjusters. They only go in the plugs one way. There's the yellow one and the white one. So we have our power seats connected again. Like I said, there's only two plugs underneath the seat. We're gonna use these factory 14 mils. Lock it back down into the floor. Start it by hand. And lock it down. And put our factory cover back in place. There we go. Go ahead. All right. And then the last two in the front. They're started by hand. And you wrench them in. All right. Reinstall the floor mats. So now that we have our seat back installed, our power line zip tied and connected. Last and final thing is just hook up the negative terminal again. Negative terminal's back connected. Pop your breaker, closed. Now we're ready to test. So that completes the install of the Z1 Audio D41 Nissan Frontier install with the Fender audio package. Now, we showed you the install for the bass package. We showed you the install for the door speakers, the 6.5-inch components, and the full HiFi package. If your vehicle is not giving you the sound quality you deserve, reach out to our team. We can set you up with any packages, however you like it. Shop now at z1offroad.com and get your Z1 audio package installed today.